Thank you for downloading this episode of Cavs on the Break NBA podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. In this episode, Sam and I make sense of the 2019 NBA trade deadline. We talk about LeBron's circus in LA, the Cavs moves, and touch on the status of the rest of the league, particularly the teams in the East, Sixers, Raptors, and Bucks. A very, very interesting trade deadline. Teams positioning themselves for next year and this coming offseason, the Knicks and the Mavs. Teams going all in on this year, looking at you, 76ers and Raptors, and teams making moves to try to stay relevant. Pacers, I see your hand raised in the back right there. One move that I think is getting overlooked because it happened so early in this trade deadline season is the Mavs move to get Porzingis. It gets another cornerstone to put alongside Luka Doncic for the next maybe 10 years. And they're really making room, if you looked at their moves today, really making room to add more pieces later. Finally, we have to talk about this no trade with Anthony Davis. Sam and I talked about it for quite a bit after the jump here, and I just think the Pelicans are dumb for rejecting this mega offer from the Lakers, if it ever was officially offered, to get that many assets and draft picks for one player that honestly would be the closest thing to fair market value that you would get for Brow. Listen, you're never going to get what you deserve you should get when trading a player like Anthony Davis. Only a few players in the league actually match his ceiling and his ability. So why not take the offer right now that gives you the most young talent and future assets? I don't know if even the Celtics offers are going to be any better this offseason. I don't know. I don't blame the Lakers for offering the farm to get Brow. You do what you need to do to get players like that on your team. They don't come around often. And at that point, when they are available, everyone should be expendable. Kudos to them for trying. May work out in the end, may not. I don't really care. At this point, I'm done talking about it. I'm done reading about it. Hopefully, you're not done hearing about it quite yet. You can give us another 20 minutes. Actually, Sam and I set out to record a 20-minute episode. This turned into a 50-minute episode. We had a ton of fun. And listen, anytime you end a podcast by saying the Warriors should blow it up, it's a great podcast. Hope you guys enjoy it. So here it is. Sam and I talk about 2019 trade deadline. Thanks.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I am your host, Chase Smith, and with me, Cavs insider, national NBA writer for MikoHoops.net. He has not been traded to another website. Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Amico, here to talk to us about the trade deadline move. Sam, welcome to the show.
It wasn't for a lack of trying that I didn't get traded to another website, but then I remembered that I'm actually in charge of the website, so I should probably stay.
Yeah, you can't LeBron yourself. You can't.
Yeah, no, it's. I was going to announce on Instagram I'm going to another website, but I decided I'm going to stay and re-signed a new contract and all that business.
Well, I was going to post on Instagram a cryptic video of me shooting a speaker of me playing a song that I'm not going anywhere in response to your guys. Did you see that LeVar post that he made?
Yeah.
Lonzo?
Yeah.
What a mess.
LeVar is back, man. I missed him. He's back.
You know, at the first podcast we recorded after LeBron left, you said we are not going to miss the circus that comes with LeBron. And that got some traction on Reddit, got some traction online, that kind of picture that we made. Sam, it seems like that circus has followed LeBron to LA. Are you surprised at what has transpired over the last couple months and couple weeks here in Los Angeles?
It's no. First of all, no. There's always drama. There's always. I mean, this is Los Angeles is seeing, the Lakers organization is seeing what the Cavs saw for the last 4 years. The Heat saw for 4 years before that. And the Cavs saw for, what was LeBron, 7 years before that. It's again, I said this last time. It's not necessarily LeBron's fault. I mean, he's a superstar, but he's also a superstar who kind of has this chaos around him all the time. Part of it's his fault, not all of it, but part of it is. He brings a lot of it on, and but he also does a very good job of managing it. And
deflecting and not accepting responsibility for it, which
That's a good way to put it as well. I wasn't going to go there, but anyway.
I'll go there. I don't have a website. I don't have a.
Well, you know what? I mean, I try to be diplomatic.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that you're not. And it has nothing to do with my website. I'm just a diplomatic person by nature and always try to see, as are you. This isn't meant as an insult to you. I'm not trying to invite, LeBron-like drama into our podcast, but I'm just saying that.
No, I don't take it at all.
I know that he's not fully responsible. Being around him, I know that he's not fully responsible, but you're right. He does deflect it. He does bring it on a lot himself. You can't argue with, the simple eye test. Everywhere he goes, this chaos follows him. And, it's funny because he still manages to win through all of this. Sometimes I think he needs it to flourish as well as he can, but that's just the LeBron James way, whereas Michael Jordan did not have this kind of drama surrounding his teams. Granted, different era, no social media, but LeBron, it's constant, and it is going on in Los Angeles right now. And guess what? They won tonight in Boston after losing 42 points to Indiana the other night. They did not get Anthony Davis.
Yep.
They created all this, what you would think would be unsettling locker room situation with their younger players who were, supposedly out the door because LeBron wanted them out the door, and it didn't happen. And then sure enough, they go into Boston, which is also a very unsettling situation, basically because of Kyrie Irving, and you never know what's going on with him half the time either. So, you know what? The Cavs stink, but they don't have LeBron drama. They don't have Kyrie drama. I'm sure they would welcome it. But if there's an upside to any of it this Cavs season, it's the fact that those two have not brought any drama.
I think LeBron has to claim Boston on his taxes because he owns the TD Garden so much. I'm not surprised he showed up and showed out there. I think there was drama with MJ. I just think it's not 2018 and 2019, and no one, as many people knew about. If Jordan didn't like you, he would just take it out and practice and punch you in the face. I mean, it's not like he didn't like.
There was no passive aggressive
yes
type of stuff that was going on, kind of that goes on with LeBron. There was none of that. There was. You're exactly right. Ask Steve Kerr. Mike, he was guarding Michael too close in practice one day, and Michael took a swing at him, and I think connected. But Jordan told it like it was. There was no bones about it. No, you didn't wonder what he was thinking or how much behind things he was. If he got a coach fired, he'd say, "Yeah, I did." There was no. But as you said, there was no social media to report every little tiny thing. There was no internet. In order to know Michael Jordan drama, you got to read the book, The Jordan Rules by Sam Smith, from like 1994 or something. But yeah, it's a different era, a different game.
So unfortunately, this has become what LeBron's narrative can't be left without. You're going to hear about how great he is and the dominance that he showed, but there's always going to be this, I think, following narrative that, hey, every team LeBron went on, he kind of had this puppeteer, holding the marionette kind of above every team. And the picture that was making the rounds earlier today with LeBron's at the end of the bench and there's 3 or 4 empty seats and the rest of the Lakers, I think that perfectly describes LeBron's career. It's fascinating. I wanted to start talking about it from the jump. One, because we called this out from the very beginning, Sam. We talked about this.
We knew it. Yeah, it was going to happen. Yeah, we knew it was going to happen because it doesn't ever not happen, and it's going to happen probably for the rest of the season, and then it's going to happen over the summer when the Lakers are getting back in the Anthony Davis trade talks. And then Anthony Davis or not, next season it's going to happen again. Even when LeBron stacks the team like he did, in Miami, and he basically did in Cleveland with Kyrie. Kyrie was already here, but they went out and got Love and traded their young guys and traded for a lot of veterans. Those, even when that happens, they still have tons of drama. And even if they go out and get Anthony Davis, who is probably the most drama-free superstar in NBA history, even if the Lakers go out and get him, he will get roped into that if he goes there, which I don't think he's going to do, but that's a topic for maybe either later in the show or now, whatever you decide. You're in charge.
Yeah, right. So
you're the LeBron of this podcast.
So I do think it is interesting that LeBron, he is a part of Clutch. That's his player agency. He can't say he has a stake in it, but he does, and he's not. And Rich Paul, there's this weird dynamic that Anthony Davis is represented by LeBron's agent / LeBron's agency.
Yes. And
that, I think, is like this shadow over this whole discussion, this whole tampering thing. And I think that's why it's hard to separate LeBron from Magic Johnson's GM and all that stuff, because LeBron is just – his shadow looms so large, Sam. Are you surprised that deal didn't get done?
No. I for a while there I thought it was, and then, here's the thing, and Adrian Wojnarowski talked about this the other night. He and Zach Lowe did this excellent pre-trade deadline show, and it was just the two of them, and I thought it was just so well done. But Woj brought up a very good point about that, and he said, so many people from the football side, because the Pelicans are also, they're owned by Gail Benson, who also owns the Saints. Well, a lot of her people from the football side are working with the Pelicans now. Mickey Loomis is a big name who's a football guy. Well, in the NFL, which is a very owner-driven sport, as we know, for right or wrong, it is, whereas the NBA is a little more superstar-driven in terms of the players. Well, the NFL guys came in and had they were helping Dell Demps, and they were taking a strong stance saying, you know what, we are not going to let this agent bully us, Rich Paul. We're not going to let Clutch Sports bully us into making a trade to the Lakers. And they almost went all the way in the other direction, saying, you could offer us anything and we're not going to trade him to you.
They almost did.
Well, and that's because you had that kind of tough guy football side of it. I mean, it sounds silly, but it is absolutely true, because the thinking in the NFL when it comes to players is a lot different than the NBA. And when you had the NFL mindset influencing the NBA side of it, the Pelican side of it, I think Dell Demps was going to take a stand against this anyway. He was not big on this, the Pelicans general manager. You also had Danny Ferry, the former Cavs GM, is like the Dell Demps senior advisor, who obviously knows LeBron, from his time as the Cavs GM. But they took a strong stand, and I really wasn't surprised.
LeBron got fired as well.
Exactly, and I was not surprised.
Yeah.
And it did. Look, a lot of guys are left in LeBron's wake. As great as he is, as much as he accomplishes on the court and off the court. I mean, he obviously does a lot of things for the community. I talked to him before. Obviously, I've had conversations with him before. He's been just no reason to be absolutely polite, and is.
Yeah.
Just for a guy who is such a huge super duper star that takes so much flack, if you talk to him one-on-one, he's a regular guy. He really is.
Yeah.
And so I think that, there are a lot of benefits to it, but the reality is so much is left in his wake.
Yeah.
When he's a member of your franchise, it just is. And it's obviously the Lakers are going through it right now. Just the same thing the Cavs went through the last 4 years.
I think you bring up an interesting parallel with the NFL. We said this is going to be like a 20-minute podcast, and we're already
it's going to be like 7 hours, but go ahead.
No. The NFL, you do not stand a chance if you do not have a quarterback. At the end of the day, you have to have a franchise quarterback to be relevant. Right. You just have to. Yep. And I think in the NBA, that translates to there are maybe 10 super duper stars that if you have them on your roster, you have a shot. Now, some of these rosters have 2 or 3 super duper stars, but at the end of the day, Anthony Davis is one of those super duper stars. Anthony Davis can be the number 1 player on a championship team. He can be. And there aren't that many players like that in the league. And I think the Pelicans realized that, offered him the max, and they tried to get that with Boogie to try to build something, and it just didn't work. It's hard to get any of the same value in return making that trade. You know what I mean? If you know he's not going to resign, it's really hard to get fair market value for a super duper star because there's just not that many in the league.
Right, and that's it, and it is in that sense that makes it a superstar driven league. I mean, look at this. Okay, you had LeBron James leaving Cleveland in free agency, which look, you're exactly his right. Now, he could have. Again, I don't like the way he went about it. Again, I don't mind the Instagram stuff. It's just here you are every year with the Cavs signing 1-year contracts. Okay, but that's your right. That's your right. You hold the power in that sense. Okay, Anthony Davis. We have LeBron leaving Cleveland. We have Anthony Davis wanting a trade. We have Kawhi Leonard who wanted a trade. We have Jimmy Butler, who's not even on those guys' level. Wanting a trade and getting a trade.
I'm through with Jimmy Butler. He can just – I'm through with – I'm done.
I don't – Jimmy Butler is not a number one option for sure on a championship team without question. I mean, I've watched him 3 games this year, and every time in the clutch he just kind of vanishes when the game's on the line against a good team. But he gets great numbers. He's one of those guys. But what my point is that, listen, the superstars, like you said, if you're the Pelicans, you don't have that much leverage because the superstars like a Davis, like a Kevin Durant, when these guys say, I want out, regardless of whether or not they're still under contract, it holds a team hostage.
There may be 2 players you trade straight up for Anthony Davis, maybe AD for Giannis.
Yeah.
I think the teams would entertain that.
That's an even trade for the most part, yeah.
But honestly, aside from that, I mean, I don't think you could do AD for KD straight up.
I don't think, I mean, yeah, well, no. But
the Warriors would in a heartbeat. If that tells you anything about where they stand with KD, I think.
Well, KD, he's stringing them along now. Why would you string along the Golden State Warriors? You get all the money in the world from them. You could get more money from Golden State, and you're winning championships. Isn't that what every player wants? I don't understand the Kevin Durant thing at all now. And I don't understand the Kyrie thing either right now. Do you? I mean, Kyrie begged out of Cleveland. He went to Boston. He loved Boston. There's nothing wrong with Boston. He said at the beginning of the season, I'm going to re-sign here. I want my number retired up in the rafters. And now he's wavering.
Well,
I just don't get it.
He realizes Boston is behind Brad Stevens more than they're behind Kyrie. When he realized that he wouldn't have the power that LeBron had in Cleveland, he's like, well, wait a second. This
Kyrie's never going to have the same power as LeBron. He's never going to be LeBron James. He's not, he's a phenomenal player, but he's not the number one option on a championship team. He's a number one, tied for number one, but he's not the guy. Like LeBron can lead a team to a championship by himself. Kyrie Irving is not going to be that guy. He's just not. He's too short.
Full circle. If I am the Pelicans, I would have taken that huge haul for Anthony Davis, even though you're never going to get fair market value for Anthony. You're never going to, get a player of his caliber in return. All those pieces, all those assets, I would have just at least had something to work with.
Well, yeah, I think that they were just dead set against him going to the Lakers right now, and I don't know why, because I thought the Lakers, number one, were crazy offering the Pelicans almost saved Magic Johnson from himself.
Yeah,
or really not even Magic. I mean, let's face it, Clutch is behind a lot of this, and they're working with Magic, and that would have been too much. I think for the Lakers could maybe make something of this. Let me put it this way, and I know we're talking a lot about LeBron James here, but
only because we called it this way back in July. We knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, well, listen, okay. So if you're the Lakers and you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis Do you get past the Warriors? Do you get past the Warriors with those two?
And Rondo, yeah. And
Do you think they get past Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, DeMarcus Cousins, Steph Curry?
I would put Rondo on Curry all day. I think.
I don't think they beat the Warriors. I really don't. And if you don't, then you've lost all this young talent. And then what if Durant goes back? What if Klay Thompson goes back? What if DeMarcus Cousins, or you don't even need him? All those guys go back, and you don't beat them. You're all of a sudden you're the Cavs.
Okay,
so Kyrie Irving and LeBron James trying to get past these 5 guys who play a system. It's not just the Warriors just aren't stars. They have a system that beats everybody because they move the ball and they don't play isolation basketball. They can all shoot. I don't think the Lakers beat the Warriors.
I do if they got AD for this reason. Anthony Davis is if Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love had a love child. And Tristan, he always gave the Warriors fits. He always does.
Yeah. So you have LeBron, you have AD, and you have Rondo, who was actually supposed to be in one of these deals. Then who else do you put out there?
They would have, I don't know, one of these max guys that buy out Zach Randolph. People would, if that happened, you would have people jumping to the team.
I don't know if Zach Randolph would be the answer, but I know what you mean. You get some guys that on the buyout market, Carmelo.
I'd rather have Zebo than Melo.
I don't know that they would. I don't think they'd be good enough to beat the Warriors with Anthony Davis. Now maybe I'm wrong.
Probably.
No, who knows? But I don't think they do. And then what happens? Then LeBron retires in 3 years. You still haven't beat Golden State, and now you have nothing. Now you don't have Kuzma, Ingram, all those. I just thought the Lakers were giving away too much, and you're right. If you're the Pelicans, you're probably not going to beat that deal, though you can send Anthony Davis to the Celtics. You can get Jason Tatum and, say, 3 first-round picks and maybe another player. Maybe you get Terry Rozier or something, and you still get a nice haul for Anthony Davis. And then guess what? By the time Anthony Davis is probably not going to go to the Lakers until LeBron James is turning 36 years old. He's just not. He's probably not going to be with the Lakers next season. It'll probably be if Anthony Davis sticks to his guns and, does not sign a contract extension with the next place he goes, and then goes to Los Angeles, LeBron will be turning 36 years old.
Well, I'm salty because they've sat him out for the past week, and it's messed over my fantasy basketball team. So I'm done with the Brow.
That's all that really matters.
I'm done with all this junk. Sam, the trade deadline has come and gone. Some activity, some no activity. Big names stayed put. Others were sent packing. Help us make sense of it all. Can we talk about the Cavs moves? And then that'll be it. So there are 2 moves the Cavs made this week, right? We start February 4th. Rodney Hood was sent to the Trailblazers for Stauskas, Baldwin, and 2 second-round picks. Sam, why are the Cavs going with second-round picks? Are they pointless?
No, 2 reasons. And I'll tell you why. The Cavs 2021 they got, and 2023, right? Those are the
Correct.
2 picks. Okay. So first of all, they're not pointless because you can draft guys in the second round. You can, we've all heard the stories. Draymond Green, is it Manu Ginobili? There's been tons of
Isaiah
second
Thomas.
rounds. Yeah, tons of second round steals. There sure have. Now, the main reason you use those, though, a lot of times is because you can package those 2. And there are teams who want to get out of the first round a lot because if you're drafting in the first round, it means a guaranteed salary.
Yep,
you have to pay guys. It's guaranteed. If you draft them in the second round, it's not. So let's say the Utah Jazz want a nice player, a nice young player to try to bring to camp, and they're drafting, say, 25th. Well, they probably would prefer to fall back to 31st, so they're not paying a guy guaranteed money. So if you're the Cavs, you could package those 2 picks, and then all of a sudden Utah's drafting 31st, 35th, whatever, and the Cavs and the Cavs are drafting, they're getting a first-round pick, and you never know what you can do with all that. So,
and
no, they're not.
That's why you listen to the Cavs on the break to get breakdown like that. That was solid stuff, man.
Okay, that's only the first reason. The second reason is this. High school players soon are going to be allowed to enter the NBA draft very soon, whether it's it's probably going to be the next collective bargaining agreement.
I like where this is going already.
So 2022, they'll be able to, 3 years, they'll be able. And now the Cavs, that's why these draft picks are down the road, because these high school players enter the draft. And what's that do? It automatically makes the draft deeper. So sometimes now, say the Cavs keep those second-round picks, and you got a better shot to get a steal if you have more players entering the draft. So are they great? Are you like, oh, we're so excited about second-round picks? No. But there is true value in those if you're smart with them and don't just use them to draft, like Carrick Felix and that kind of stuff. And you actually get a Jetty Osman, with a second round pick. So
Wade Baldwin is a young guard.
He's gone. Wade Baldwin was obviously traded with Stauskas, and then they were traded to the Rockets as part of this, Brandon Knight deal.
Yes, that was done today.
Right. Yeah.
So jumping ahead to today, Cavs trade Alec Burks. So I liked Alec Burks. I was looking forward to him playing in the Cavs a little longer. We sent him to the Kings, and the Kings sent Shumpert to the Rockets, and we got Marquise Chris and Brandon Knight. Is that correct? I'm reading
and the Rockets' first-round pick.
And the Rockets' first round, which will be in the end of the first round, though. But it's still assets,
That's still
right?
24, 25. Yeah, you always – first-round picks are you plan on them becoming NBA, contributors at worst.
So we turned Rodney Hood and Alex Burke into Marquise Chris and Brandon Knight. Not a bad flip for those players, right? I mean, that's a pretty good – at least more upside.
I think the Cavs –
Burks.
Well, yeah, Burks, I mean, he had an expiring contract. And I agree with you. He's a nice player, but he just wasn't going to probably be here next year. And who knows if Knight and Chris will. But, again, this is an opportunity for the Cavs to audition guys. Listen, look, Chris and Knight. Now, granted, Knight's had a major injury, and Chris has had not looked great. He had a nice rookie year, has not been great since then, very good, or getting much of an opportunity since then. But, I mean, you're talking about a number 8 pick, Chris, and Brandon Knight. Those guys are lottery picks, so former lottery picks, so what kind of promise do they have? They're going to get, assuming they don't buy out Knight's contract, and I don't think they will, but they'll get every opportunity to prove themselves on a team such as this. It's just one big audition. 2019-20 has already started for the Cavs because 2018-19 season is already over for them. They're looking for next year. What's going to happen? Where can we be next year?
Mm-hmm. Sam, this is very different than the Cavs trade deadline moves last year. Last year we were buyers. This year we are sellers. What does this mean for the team? What do these moves tell you about the Cavs? I mean, obviously you just said like we're looking ahead to 2020 already. Mm-hmm. What does this mean for the players on the team now? Are we going to see Chris and Knight get some minutes? Or are we going to see, as Love done for the year? What does this mean for our current roster?
Well, I think Love could play Friday night. I think he's listed as questionable. So we could see Kevin Love, the next game after this podcast.
But why though?
Well, you want to bring him out. You want him to play. You don't want him to just miss an entire year with toe surgery, because you want to get him acclimated to and see how these new guys play with a guy like Love. How does Sexton play with Love? He's played with him 2 games or 3 games.
Yeah. We were at the game where Love got injured.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And Osman, Chetty Osman, and who are some of these other? You want to see how these guys, even Zizic. You want to watch these guys play together a little bit. Not you don't have to be this we cannot win ever mode. I mean, I know Cavs fans are like, we're right there with New York and Phoenix, and oh my gosh, we're gonna miss out on Zion. I don't want to. And you're a kind of an anti-Zion guy.
I am.
But I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. but the Cavs could have the worst record in the league, and they don't have any better shot of getting him than the number 2 or 3. It's the way that the lottery is set up, and you barely have more than 4 or 5. So, you don't want to win too much, but at the same time, as long as you're in the top 4 worst records, preferably top 3, and it's going to be a fight to the finish because the Bulls are terrible, the Suns are terrible, the Knicks are terrible, and the Cavs are there, and I think there's somebody else there. But anyway, those are the top 3 or 4. And you know what? If you don't get the top 1 or 2 picks, let's say the Cavs finish with the worst record and then finish 4th in the lottery or 3rd in the lottery, well, then, you can't just completely torture culture for the sake of a few more losses. You just can't. The Cavs did that before, and it failed miserably. The Sacramento Kings finally are coming around after years of losing and playing the lottery, and now they're phenomenal in terms of where they're going. But you just don't want to. You don't want to put a sorry product on the floor year after year after year. You just don't. You have to take the natural progression. So is Kevin Love going to play a ton this year? No, but he's going to play some, and Tristan Thompson's going to play some. I think that you need to get that kind of develop that with the guys in the locker room, and see who fits and who doesn't. Because come May, when this draft lottery is held, everybody's under review. The general manager, the head coach, everybody on the roster, and how who's going to get traded, where are we going to draft, all that stuff is going to come into focus right in May after the season.
Yep. Sam, were there any moves that the Cavs did not make that you heard they were going to, or surprised that nothing or something didn't happen? Was there anything you heard that like, oh, I'm surprised I didn't go through?
No, I know that they had an interest in Markelle Fultz. I wasn't surprised that didn't go through, but I knew that there was some interest there. Again, a young player with upside who could be, an audition type player.
That kind of like failed lottery, not a bad strategy. I think the Brooklyn Nets, did that to some degree, like just get a lot of these cast-offs. And they're seeing like Dinwiddie, Russell, all these guys are kind of like panning out right now, and they're playing pretty well.
Well, Joe Harris.
Not a bad strategy, yeah.
Joe Harris is not a lottery guy, but
I don't think Dinwiddie is either. But these guys that just like
cast-offs, right? Yeah. Nobody expected Karis LeVert to be what he is,
right? Yep.
Before the injury, so no, it's you make the best of the picks that you have. Now, granted, it's easier to do that when you have high picks, supposedly. But to answer your question, no, nothing really surprised me. I would have been more surprised, and I said this on our last podcast. I would have been shocked if Burks and Hood were still on the team after the deadline. Yep. I knew that those guys were easy to move because of expiring contracts, and the Cavs moved them easily. So no, nothing really surprised me. I didn't expect them to move Kevin Love. I didn't expect to trade Tristan Thompson. I didn't expect them to try J.R. Smith, even though they tried mightily all the way up until the final buzzer of the trade deadline. And I didn't, I don't think anybody realistically expected those guys to get traded. Now, you want to talk about the summer, there's going to be, a lot more wheeling and dealing. I think that's going to be the Cavs' time around the draft to be. Yeah. That's their trade deadline. This is the trade deadline for the contenders. When
you go to amicohoops.net, the first article is about the J.R. Smith. Is there more to that than people know, or is it? Like, where does that stand?
Well, the Cavs just want to do what's best for them, obviously, and they couldn't trade JR, so they're not going to write him a big check to buy him out, especially when he's going to be considerably more tradable over the summer, that's because, only $3.8 million of his contract is guaranteed next season compared to, the $15 million or whatever cap hit teams would be taking this year. So he'll be much easier to move in the off season, and they're going to hold on to him and keep that contract to move in the summer, because that's you're trying to benefit from that contract somehow, some way. And you know, I mean, you feel bad for JR because he wanted to get traded and play, but he just, you know, he just wasn't a great citizen, and I shouldn't say that. He wasn't a great guy to have in the locker room around a young team, with Larry Drew and you know, some of those young guys with Colin Sexton. He just was no longer a fit, and he could have gone to where JR could have. He had a choice. I'm either going to be a leader and not complain and be like Tristan Thompson's being, you know, and be the kind of guy who's everything that the Cavs want in a leader, which is what Tristan has become. Or I could keep being the J.R. Smith who throws soup at Damon Jones, and that was the path JR kind of chose. You know, complaining about playing time, complaining about his role, and the Cavs didn't need that, so they're using his contract as best they can to their advantage.
Sam, I want to close this episode out by you sharing what move got you most excited. What move for all the NBA, Sam, we're like, man, that was an awesome move. I can't wait to see that play out throughout the end of the season. Was it Raps? Was it?
Oh no, you know, I mean, those are big time moves. Gasol to the Raptors, though I don't know that the Mirotic one was the one that raised my eyebrows because he is fairly underrated. He is going to be a good fit for Mike Budenholzer there, who has done obviously a magnificent job of taking the Bucks to that next level. The first team, you know, to win 40 games this year, 40-13 entering tonight. So, and if you think back to Budenholzer's 60-win Hawks team with Korver and Paul Millsap and those guys when they were in their, you know, younger, this is the style of basketball they played in, and Mirotic is going to be a great fit there, and it's almost like such a dynamic, underrated move. Now, that said, I don't, you know, everybody's like, who's your favorite player? Who's your favorite player in the NBA? I don't really have favorite players, obviously, because I'm covering them, and I don't really view it from a fan standpoint. But one of my, if I had to pick one, it would be. How'd you know? No, it's Tobias. It's Tobias Harris.
Yeah,
I love watching him play. Excited. Yeah, he's so underrated. He is a fine individual player, as well as as well as a guy who fits within the team concept. I just thoroughly enjoy watching the guy play, and I think him going to the Sixers, my goodness, you got him now, Butler, and the Sixers. What I was most impressed with was how they added depth. Jonathan Simmons from the Magic, going to be a nice player off the bench.
Love it.
James Enos from the Rockets is a very underrated addition for them. Nice wing player off the bench. And Mike Scott from the Clippers also is a very underrated player off the bench. And, of course, we got you got your guy Boban, who's also going to be there. So the Sixers, to me, are just loaded.
I agree.
You know? But I think –
enough to move the needle to the Sixers? Did they do enough?
Yeah, they did. They did. They did plenty. They could definitely come out of the East. And I was impressed with how the Sixers, you know, won against the Lakers and then went into Golden State and won that game. They've been impressive lately. If they can stay healthy, that's a huge thing. But yeah, I would say Mirotic was a very underrated addition for the Bucks. I think he's going to fit in well with a team that has just been killing it. Man, I'll tell you what, Milwaukee, Philly could be a great playoff series. Boston, Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Boston, Toronto. The East is very exciting this year. A lot of people, you know, don't. And gosh, if had it's too bad because if Victor Oladipo stayed healthy, I would have loved to seen these Pacers take on one of those so-called giants. So, yeah, I mean, Chase, I know I was the one who was adamant. I've been working 15-hour day today because it's trade deadline day, and I told you before the podcast, we cannot go longer than 20 minutes, and I've been the guy who's talked for like 45 minutes. So my apologies.
No, don't apologize. We spent a good time bashing LeBron.
Good, I'll talk for another 45. Yeah.
So
well worth it.
So I think the Tobias Boban move was earlier enough that it might be under the radar, probably not. But I think one move that people are completely overlooking, Sam, that I think is going to have ripple effects over the next 10 years in the NBA is Porzingis to the Mavs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you forget about that because
It happened before the deadline.
Well, and there were, I think 18 trades. I tweeted out today, 18 trades over the last 2 days.
Yep. And that move, not only, which I love what the Mavs are doing too. Cuban is loading up for another decade run. I love it. Yeah. I love Luka. I love Zinger. Love what they're doing there. But also, man, what this does for the Knicks. I mean, they're essentially all in saying we're going to get KD and someone else. Either
Kyrie or Durant, and I'm starting to think it's Kyrie. I'm starting to think it's Durant and Kyrie that are going to go there. And then what if they get the number one pick, or what if they get R.J. Barrett or Zion Williamson? You know, then all of a sudden you're set. And they could probably get it. You know, they'll get somebody else on top of that too. So if that were to happen with the Knicks, my goodness. Well, and then Anthony Davis say that if he gets traded, where's he going to get traded then? The Lakers? I don't know. It's too. I can't wrap my head around.
Because then the Warriors wouldn't be. I think Clay's gone. I don't know.
I don't know if he's gone. I think that he could be. I don't know.
Yeah, they need the Warriors. Okay, so the Warriors need to blow it up. Can we just agree the Warriors should just blow it up?
See, I don't. Yeah, I think I had to say it. I love saying that. I think people are hoping for that, but after they win another championship this year, people will be like, "What are they doing? Where are these guys going?" I honestly think that Kevin Durant is considering the Knicks strongly. Just enough intel around the league, just reading stuff. I honestly think he is. Sam Amick wrote that the Knicks almost feel like he's already committed to them.
Yeah. Well, the way he got all his panties in a bunch at the presser, the media post game a couple nights ago.
All you have to do is say, "Are you nuts? I'm staying here. We're winning. I'm going to sign the richest contract I can for the winningest team." That's all you have to do to put an end to that. You know, and then I hear people say, you know, and listen, I'm not a huge fan of sports writers myself, so I don't defend the media very often. However, to me, it's like people are saying, well, the media needs to leave him alone about this. Well, you know, he can put an end to it and say, you know what, I know he's trying to say, in his defense, he's trying to say, I don't have to talk about that now. I should be allowed to talk about free agency during free agency.
Yeah.
However, you can put an end to all of it by saying, no, I'm staying with the Golden State Warriors. And the fact he hasn't done that makes me think he's out the door.
Yeah.
Which to me is utter insanity.
Yeah.
But let me say this real fast, Chase, and then I'm going to leave you alone. Listen, number one, the key thing is, and a lot of people I see a lot of things on Twitter from my readers and readers of the other writers and just NBA fans in general who say, you know, well, the NBA stinks because the superstars control the league. And you know, they're acting like this is new. It's not. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar demanded a trade from the Milwaukee Bucks after winning a championship in 1972. Okay? Magic Johnson got his coach fired. Larry Bird loafed because he didn't get a new contract, and then he started playing hard again when he got one. Superstars have always controlled the league. Kobe Bryant threatened to go to the Clippers or something. You know, it has been going on since the beginning of time. If I'm correct, George Mikan or somebody from the beginning was, you know, playing his hand that I'm going to go to another team if these requirements are not met, or just because I want to. Kareem, 1972, I just don't want to play in Milwaukee anymore. I don't care that we won a championship. Yeah. I want to go play for the Lakers. So this is not a new thing. Now, the run-of-the-mill guys like Harrison Barnes and, you know, guys like that, the B-level guys are always going to be at the team's mercy. But the superstars are going to have their say. That's number one. Point number two, everybody's complaining, well, the Golden State Warriors, you know they're going to win it every year. It makes the NBA not interesting. Excuse me, I grew up during the Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan era, okay? And before that was the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson era. Everybody knew who was going to the finals every year. And during the Bulls era, everybody knew the Bulls were going to win it as long as Michael Jordan was on that team in the 90s. So you can't just, to me, I understand.
Well, and then the year
you're in it to win a championship.
Dream, Clyde, and Charles Barkley.
You knew that these teams, yes, going into the season, but for me, the reason I do this and run this website and try to and make it, I'm fortunate that I make a living at it, but the reason I got involved in all this is because I enjoy the essence of basketball, the way the game is played. I enjoy the personalities, knowing guys and being around the NBA players. I enjoy the players in terms of, they as bad of a rap as some of them can get, they're all good. J.R. Smith's a great guy to deal with, great guy to talk to, so as bad of a rap as they can get. I just enjoy being around the game. And I think if you're going to follow the NBA, this is nothing new. This really is, and they're set up a little bit more than they were before the trade deadline.
So to recap, we called LeBron Circus. The Cavs are looking ahead to next season. The Sixers did enough to move the needle, and the Warriors need to blow it up. Did I leave anything else out, Sam?
Probably not. I've been awake since 7 a.m. and I went to bed at 3:30. So if I sound a little loopy, it's probably because I am.
This, though. It is exciting to know that basketball could be relevant in New York again. There's nothing like the Garden. Like that is just it's great. It's great to see like Luka, the Mavs. Like that's going to be fun, and to kind of circle it all back around. It is kind of sad that at the end of the day, teams have 3 or 4 superstars, and honestly, it only comes down to about 8 or 9 teams in the league who could win. All the other 20 teams are just trying their best, and that's what makes years like when the Mavs beat the Heat so much fun. See the Spurs just year in year out be consistent, just be like. I think that's what makes those really fun. So I don't know. You're right. I was going to say, man, the Knicks, they've been down for so long. Who can not kind of root for them to turn it around? But I think the Cavs, and I agree with all what you're saying, but I think the Cavs need to kind of look in building a team that's kind of like the Spurs. That's your model. That'd be amazing. You know what I mean? And by that I mean you got to start up top with a culture, and if you can do that, then you don't necessarily need the super duper stars. You need all stars, but you don't need the super duper stars to get back to playing. Enjoy basketball that's fun to watch, that gives if you don't win a championship, what's the next best thing? Giving your fans a regular season full of fun. And that's how you do that. You do that by building a strong culture. And that's, I think, what the Cavs are trying to, but need to set their sights on. Well, that does it for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and listening. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. Make sure to follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Catch all of his work and writings at amicohoops.net for all your breaking news, insider info in Cleveland, and all NBA transactions. Don't miss out at amicohoops.net. But let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Smash that subscribe button. Leave us a review. It does help us with the podcast search algorithms. I know it seems silly, but it does help. Sam, thank you for plowing through your weary trade deadline day. I know it's exhausting. I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
It's all good. I'm pumped up on caffeine. It doesn't impact me at all. So,
right, man.
I'd probably talk another 2 hours if you let me.
We'll keep grinding, and we'll catch you later. Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.